In the early half of the 18th century, London's population doubled to around 2.5 million, and with that, the city's dead mounted. It was said that in that time, the amount of space allocated to the dead didn't grow, so you ended up with graves upon graves, body parts being dug up, scattered across the city, and we ended up with a cholera epidemic, amongst other things, along with measles and typhoid and various other ailments that you would find in that time. So the solution to this problem back in the day was the creation of the London Necropolis Railway, a specialist railway set up to transport the bodies of the dead out of the city and out to a site in a small village called Brookwood, just near Surrey, which later became Brookwood Cemetery. Now, Brookwood Cemetery will become relevant as we progress on our tour of the filming locations of the 1974 horror classic The Omen. So come with me and I'll show you where they are. But while we're here, this is the last remaining station of the London Necropolis Railway.
Gregory Peck, Remick, The Omen.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
So we start our tour in deepest, darkest Surrey near the town of Woking. And we may as well get the awkward part of this tour out of the way because the Omen's most recurring location is Perford Court, which was used as the Thorn residence in the film. Now, as you can see, Perford Court sits within quite a vast estate and you can pretty much only get to the gatehouse, although I could see some of the upper stories from the road. But anyway, here's a shot of where I was able to get to. Now, originally built in 1910 by the Guinness brewing family, Perford Court was actually left empty for over a decade when its original owner died in 1967, and during that time remained largely unoccupied. However, it was during that decade that the house sort of became a bit of a horror movie star itself. It not only appeared in The Omen in 1976 as the Thorn residence, but you can also see it as the main house in the murder mystery The Cat and the Canary from 1978, which you can see here, and one of the segments from 1972's Tales from the Crypt. In fact, as you can see from those films, you get almost some identical camera shots, including this almost identical shot of a car leaving the gatehouse to turn onto Perford Common Road.
Hey! Panda 4 to control.
Wouldn't you just die if it was me?
You also get to see some lovely interior shots of the house itself, and though I'm not sure if The Omen was filmed on set, this hallway looks a lot like the staircase where sort of darling Damien knocked his mother over the banister. So judge for yourself, but this is what the house looked like on the inside.
You can make do with anything if you have to. Good evening, Miss
So the next stop of our tour brings us to Grosvenor Square here in central London, very close to Hyde Park. And behind me, this used to be, and this was in The Omen, the American Embassy. The American Embassy actually has closed now and moved down to Battersea. So this is now currently under renovation. It's going to be called the Chancery Rosewood. It's going to be a luxury hotel. But you'll remember from The Omen, this is where the ambassador Robert Thorn came to work because he was the the ambassador to the US. And they were actually allowed to film in the embassy. So you'll remember the scene where he drives up. This is after his nanny has just hanged herself at the family home, and he's being accosted by various photographers and reporters, including our sort of photographer who appears later in the film, played by David Warner. And they enter this building, and it was all filmed inside. What's actually pretty cool is if you look at the film, you'll see that the ambassador has a kind of corner office, and that's where he's kind of ambushed by Father Brennan, played by Patrick Troughton, to basically look into whether his son may be the devil. And understandably he kicks him out. And the way that's filmed, if you kind of look at the windows in the background of that shot, it matches up to here, just as we head along towards Bond Street. And you see that those buildings pretty much match up. There's been a bit of refurbishment and additions in the nearly 50 years since the film was made. But yeah, the ambassador had his corner office up there, and this is the American Embassy, as I said, currently under refurbishment, but pretty identical actually, including this gorgeous golden eagle, which is still adorns the top of the building here. So had to come and check this one out.
the matter, Damien? Oh, it's just a church, that's all. What's the matter? Robert?
Something wrong?
He seems... I don't know, he just seems scared to
So
death.
yeah, so we're now at, this is Guildford Cathedral. So if you remember the film, and they drive up the main drive to the cathedral, and the car sort of swings in sort of around here behind me. And yeah, they go to get Damien out to get him into the church for the sort of Sunday service. And yeah, that kid loses it.
Stop. Damn it. Drive on. Get on with it. Say what you have to say.
So in middle part of the film, there's a priest played by Patrick Troughton, Father Brennan, who chases our kind of main character around, trying to warn him of the impending doom that his son has brought. And they end up at this towpath. This is Bishop's Park in Putney. And I'm sitting kind of in the exact spot where the priest sat. The benches aren't here anymore. They've kind of migrated to the other side of the riverbank. But yeah, this is where Patrick Troughton, Father Brennan, meets the ambassador played by Gregory Peck. And yeah, things get pretty intense. I'm going to go over to the church shortly because that's kind of where the most of the action happens. But it's one of my favourite scenes in the film. I think the dramatic weather and the way it goes so dark so quickly. Yeah, it's just one of the pivotal moments of the movie. So that's where we are today. So yeah, in this scene, Patrick Troughton's character, Father Brennan, runs through this park. I think if we swing around this way and just walk over here, it doesn't look massively similar, but I think this gate here is probably where he got into the church. So we're now at All Saints Church. This is All Saints Church in Fulham, and in this scene we continue from the riverbank scene. So Father Brennan will have run in here, run to the sort of the front door of the church, and then tries to get into this little side door here. And this starts to then set up that quite pivotal death scene, which I think is probably the best moment of the movie. So if you look up, there is the top of the church. Thank God there is no spire today, because that would not be fun. But yeah, this is the door. And if we swing this round, it's very sunny today, so this may be a bit bleached out. But yeah, you can kind of see here, this is pretty much where poor Father Brennan was impaled by that church spire. Now, one thing I wasn't able to do on this tour was cover any of the locations filmed in Rome, which is really annoying because I was only in Rome last year before I'd actually started this channel. That said, one of the locations that we see in the film that appears to be in Rome was actually here in London the whole time. Like Perford Court, St Mary at Lambeth Church was abandoned for a number of years during the 70s, and before it became the Guardian Museum, which you see here, it was used as the filming location for the monastery of San Benedetto, where Ambassador Thorn confronts the near-paralysed Father Spoleto. The church has actually been cleaned up and refurbished quite a bit since the film's sort of star days, but it was lovely to see all the stained glass windows matching up to the movie, as you'll see here. Also, I must say, the staff at the museum didn't know The Omen was filmed there on the day I visited, and the lady on the front desk was really sweet and generous in letting me film there. So thank you to the Guardian Museum. Please go check it out. And while we're on the subject of churches, I was able to also visit The Omen's fourth and final church, which is St Peter's in Staines, and this is where Ambassador Thorn's attempt to kill Damien fails at the sort of the latter part of the film. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get inside, but here is a few shots of that church. So, I promised at the beginning of this tour that the relevance of Brookwood Cemetery would eventually become clear, so we're going to end this look at the Omen's film locations by going back to what we discussed at the beginning. Now, Brookwood Cemetery, also down in Surrey, is itself a vast, sprawling complex, and we find ourselves in the American military section of the cemetery to the final scene of the film. And this is where we witness the funeral of Ambassador Thorn and his wife Catherine, in a joyously downbeat and depressing ending to their story. And here we go, this is where the very last shot of the film takes place as we pan round to see Damien, who doesn't look terribly sorry for the chaos he's caused. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this little retread of the Omen's main filming locations, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.